Friends, welcome. It is the debut edition of Love Wrestling React. Spencer Love here, waiting on Josh Robinson to hop on the stream because, of course, I can't get my time zones correct. So let's call me out on the botch like our friends in the chat are already doing. Of course, Maniac Late Start Classic Wrestling Show, of course, but great things are worth the wait. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Of course, like I said, the debut edition of a Love Wrestling React. If you guys are in the comments, if you guys tuned in to tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw, then, of course, give us your thoughts, give us your comments, give us your concerns, and give a warm welcome to the ever handsome, the always wonderful, and good friend, Josh Robinson. Josh, it's good to see you. Thanks for hopping in cold on me here, man, but it's always great.
No problem.
To chat with you, especially when it's to kick off WrestleMania week, man. How are you doing? How are things?
Doing well. I mean, I was not really doing much. I was about to go grab a bite to eat, and then I was like, Spencer needs me. Eating can wait. Food can wait.
The Love Wrestling signal went up, right? And I thank you for it, of course, and I thank you in the comments as well. Debut time from Wrestling Plug Inc. John, always a great individual and someone who is a big supporter of not only us here at Love Wrestling, but lots of great people in professional wrestling. So give him a follow over on the YouTube channel. If you guys are on YouTube right now, of course, it's an easy click over. But if you're watching on Twitch or Facebook Live, feel encouraged to leave your comments as well. We're live, we're bad, we're nationwide, as ZZ Top once said. And of course, two studs reacting to some wrestling. Love it. Well, yeah, okay. Well, we'll take the compliments anytime we can get them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my reaction would be, I know, but I'll be humble.
Well, I would have said it too, but don't worry. I'll let you take the bullet on that one. Nitromaniacs TV Wrestling Unlimited. Best of luck and have fun, Kellen. Another great individual. I actually chatted with him about a month and a half ago. Just sort of chatting about Albertan wrestling, Canadian wrestling, independent wrestling, great professional wrestling as we are here to do tonight. And then last but certainly not least, another member of the Love Wrestling crew, Joe Morin. You guys can catch him most Sundays on Sunday Brunch and, of course, every Thursday on the Turnbuckle Rewind podcast. A great show, as we've got many of here on Love Wrestling. We'll get to plugs in a minute, though, because let's talk some Monday Night Raw. It was a go-home episode of the Red Brand, the flagship show. And personally, I like to keep it on the positive side of things. I know you do as well, as we do here at Love Wrestling as a whole, which has me fearful that this might be a pretty short opening edition of Love Wrestling Reacts, because personally, this was a 2-bagger of 5 if we're going to go by my traditional Love Wrestling recaps. Personally, I even thought a lot of stuff even in last week's episode. I'm going to point to Drew McIntyre specifically, like the vignette package, the hype that they gave him last week versus this week to close out the show. I really loved his promo to kick it off, but you're sort of left with the last impression, and I really wasn't a fan of the main event this week. There were a couple of other segments that perhaps I wasn't too positive on, but of course we can dig through anything and find a silver lining, right? How are you feeling on Raw?
So I missed about the first 20 minutes just because I was coming home from work, but I caught up and everything. The thing with Raw that really, listen, me, Spence, and everyone that knows me knows that I'm fairly optimistic when it comes to, especially a WWE product that everyone just tends to kind of just turn their nose up at. I can kind of find anything and be like, okay, I understand why they're doing this. WWE, as you know, is probably more of a casual fans experience. If you're not really watching wrestling as much as we are, you got to try and to enjoy WWE. I feel like you have to get in the mindset of like, okay, this is what a casual fan just kind of clicking through would see. But the thing is with Raw is there's such a disconnect, I think, with the viewer and like what they're presenting to us as opposed to SmackDown or NXT or an AEW show. I think that's my biggest problem with Raw, and it was kind of evident in this. This is the go home. WrestleMania is this weekend. We should be leaving Raw going, oh my God, I've got to order the WWE Network, or in, people in the States, I've got to order Peacock, or I've got to whatever. And I don't know, there's just a disconnect between where their end goal is and where we are as watching the program. So I'm trying to remain optimistic. And there were certain things I liked about this week's Raw, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But, turning it on, and like I jumped in just as basically the what was even on when the first half hour I basically missed. So I basically popped in when Rhea and Asuka were having their "can they coexist" storyline. So
Unfortunately, and Josh, I hate to shock and alarm you, they could not coexist. The
shock horror.
two people who are going to be fighting in 6 calendar days could not coexist.
I don't know. Okay. The problem with that story is it's like it's just been beaten to death. It's done so many times, and it's like it's the easy, oh, we've got nothing else for you. You're two faces. We don't really know what to do. You know what would have worked better? A video package.
Yeah.
It would have got the job done. Like there's just certain things like so that's where I popped in with Raw, but I understand AJ and stuff was on to start the show, and there was a Drew promo of some kind. And last week on Raw, I liked Drew's stuff last week. There's a certain believability with Drew McIntyre that I don't really think too many people within the company really have. Like, I believe what he's saying. I'm not his biggest fan. I never have been personally, but that's the me thing. But there's something about Drew that's really believable. And even in the main event this week, I was like, last week was better than this. And we're going into WrestleMania. So there's a problem there, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, one problem we don't have is a lack of co-hosts on the show. Joe hopping in, and of course we got to give a quick shout out to Zach, because not only was he kind enough to take the time to design all the beautiful graphics you see behind us, but he was kind enough to do it for not only 2 guest hosts but 3. Joe, I'll let you pick up on the point that Josh was making there, because it does touch obviously on the overall thoughts of Raw, but specifically as far as it goes with Drew McIntyre, it's a good place to start off because he was all over the show, as well as Bobby Lashley. What were your thoughts as far as it goes with the universe or the WWE Championship scene, I suppose?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I kind of agree with Joe. I feel like the whole show in general it didn't feel like a Raw before Mania to me. Yeah, at least from it wasn't a bad show. Like there's been ones that have been harder to watch recently.
Yeah.
But in general, I just thought I was not as hyped as I should be 5 days or 6 days away from WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all. Now, before I let you keep going there, we've got some fans already excited that you're here. Of course, Maniac shouting out JPJ, the walking wrestling encyclopedia for you Quizplex fans out there. And of course, Wrestling Plug Inc. correcting 3 studs. Tom hopping on the Twitch channel. If you guys are on Twitch, or if you guys are on Twitch but currently watching elsewhere, please hop over to the Twitch channel. Throw us a follow. A subscription would be really, really neat. But we do only need 3 more followers. It is no cost to you guys to do. And if we do get those 3 followers, we will reach affiliate status. If we can do that during WrestleMania week, I know I speak for everyone else here in saying that's a goal for Love of Wrestling. So if you could throw us some support there specifically, it would be really appreciated. But of course, your support everywhere is appreciated. A video package might not have had enough Reginald. Yeah, I agree. To be honest with you, I was really happy I could use that opportunity to plug the Twitch channel and just leave that comment lingering on the bottom, because it's a funny comment to make, but I also am pretty frustrated with how much he's gotten screen time in the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship scene. But we'll talk about that in a second. I do want to continue a little bit down the path of Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley and that whole main event scene. I specifically wanted to talk about the Bobby Lashley Cedric Alexander match, because that was one part of Raw that I really did enjoy tonight. Josh, I'll move to you first. Your thoughts?
I don't want to make anyone unhappy with me, but Bobby is oh no. I don't hate Bobby Lashley, and this is going to come across as it comes across as like, having a dig here, and I'm not trying to do that. But what's Bobby Lashley done that's so different to anybody else's WWE champion?
You make a fair point.
He's like, everyone's like, yeah, he's so great. And I do think it's well earned and well deserved. It's been 16 years or something, and he hasn't been WWE champion. Hell yeah, good for you, Bobby. But you dissect everything and you take away 2 members of the Hurt Business, and then whatever. He's just big scary man that holds a championship.
Joe, I'll let you play off that point next. I'm not going to be the guy to take the hot take gauntlet here next. You can pick up off that point.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think leading up to his championship match, they booked him in a light that was stronger than they had since he had returned. You know, he was just dominating people, not losing, things like that. So I thought the build towards the championship, they were showcasing him in a way that we all thought he should have been showcased for a long time. I do think since he's won, nothing's been super memorable besides him winning. I don't think there's been anything that was super memorable since the actual victory that night on Raw. They made the victory a big, strong thing. And then since he's been kind of just doing what he does. I didn't want the Hurt Business to break up. I thought that was way too soon. Yeah, so I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I don't think since he's been champion, anything spectacular has happened. I think they've just really been just building to this match that we're gonna get. But yeah, I mean, I think when he won, everybody was kind of like on board, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, all right, this makes sense."
Oh
This
yeah,
is
me too.
deserving."
Me
Yeah,
too. I was very much on board, but I mean, take my opinion with a grain of salt. I'm wearing a Bella Twin shirt, so everyone's just going to get angry at me anyway. So, yeah, I don't think he's bad. I just think it's been something that it's not like moving the needle, if you know what I mean.
that's fair. I'm not.
Fair
Yeah,
point.
I would say that's fair.
Fair point. I'm 100% going to bounce off of that, but I do want to make sure we shout out Everything Pro Wrestling. They're great individuals, and again, it's an easy click away to show them some support. Got to work early, had to show some love. Good to see Wrestling Reverb back today, Josh, and I completely agree. Here's a quick minute. Plug what you guys covered on Wrestling Reverb today.
WrestleMania, minute over. No, basically we just talked about WrestleMania. I mean, there's really nothing else. It's WrestleMania week. What else can you really talk about? I know that I'm a WWE guy, but it is very much WrestleMania week, so it deserved its own little thing. And it was nice to chat with Kevin again. I don't get to talk to Kevin every week anymore, so it was just nice to get the band back together, if you will. So it's always fun to talk to Kevin and to do Reverb and just to kind of dust off the old podcast rustiness for one little special.
I agree. I quite enjoyed it. And if you guys have the chance again, head over after this live stream is done and head over and watch some pre-recorded but excellent content. You can interact with it. You can't help but enjoy it. It is Wrestling Reverb on Love Wrestling. A point that Maniac's got in here, unpopular opinion, but one that I will agree with. The full Nelson lock is an overrated submission move. I agree, especially since it's basically being played up as the master lock to a lesser degree. And you know, when you've already done something better, there's no need to do it again. In my opinion,
but Bobby was the first one to break the master lock, so I guess he has the right to use it.
That's completely fair, I suppose. I will consider your argument. I'll keep that one. And then Wrestling Plug Inc. as well. I think people are just excited. Lashley isn't doing comedy anymore, and that's why it seems so good. I completely agree. I mean, we can all look. I actually had the discussion earlier today that one of the big issues that I had with Bobby Lashley that has really changed over the last little bit is when he first came back to WWE the night after Mania in 16, 17, whichever it was. When he came back, he came back the first night. He hit the stalling suplex on Elias. The next week, he was part of, I think, the 10-man main event as part of the draft special. And then I think he moved right into the Sami Zayn feud, if I remember correctly. And there was never a point up until he joined the Hurt Business, or I guess joined forces with MVP prior to Backlash there, that he had ever stated, like, this is why I'm back in WWE. You know, he sort of moved from feud to feud to feud without, like, even for me, you know, it doesn't ever have to be sexy. Just give me a reason. You know, if he had done the interview with Charlie Caruso or Kevin Patrick, I guess now, or Kathy Kelly, hopefully back because she was excellent and still excellent. If even he had done like the backstage interview, I'm back here because I want to win the WWE championship. Cool. I'm done. And he didn't really get to that until sort of this recent run. So maybe that for me is why I've really, really enjoyed it, is that, like, you know, you always knew he's always been very open about it in like the shoot interviews. I hate that phrase, but he never really said anything in storyline as far as why he was back. So that's the biggest reason for me. I like the match with Cedric Alexander. I really, despite the fact that I hate the Hurt Business breaking up, especially this close to Mania, especially after they've had such a great run, They've at least done well with it. I think the match tonight was great. I think that Shelton's still looking out for Cedric Alexander, like cringing when Bobby Lashley was going too far. Again, using my air quotes. I thought it was excellent despite my dislike of the Hurt Business breakup. Josh, I've gone to you twice in a row first, so Joe, I'll move to you.
Yeah, I thought the match was good. I thought it was going to be a lot shorter originally. I thought he was just going to run through them, but I'm glad they gave them a lot more time. I agree with definitely you, and like I said it a few minutes ago, like it felt like that was just such a rush to break them up for no reason. No reason. And it's disappointing because I would argue that they were the top highlight, if not in the top 2 or 3 highlights of the whole pandemic era, especially on Raw. So the whole thing kind of bums me out just because I didn't want them to break up. But as far as this show goes tonight, that was one of the few moments of Raw where I was like, okay, like that was enjoyable to watch.
Absolutely. Josh, again, before I move on to you, you've got the fan section. We've got to make sure we do streams more convenient for Australian time. Bellas for life. I don't disagree. I know you and I have like conversed often enough. I feel comfortable. You'll back me up. I have always said that the Bellas are first ballot Hall of Famers. 100%. I know there's not really like unofficial voting system, but like, yeah, if there was a ballot system for this, they would 100% be first ballot Hall of Famers. I'll stand by that until the day I expire, I suppose.
Yeah, but me too.
Here we've got Maniac as well in the comments section. Cesaro for world champion, which if you want to talk about great opportunities to plug stuff, we also have Love Wrestling shirts. You can get a hold of those and pre-order them at lovewrestling.ca/shop. Not only do we have the shirts available for pre-order, we've got masks if you want to make sure that even despite the positive news with vaccines and all of that sort of stuff coming out, still want to stay socially responsible. So grab a mask or grab some stickers if you just want to do some decorating in your area of choice that will host a sticker, I suppose. The other two I really had some solid selling points for, but stickers they're just rad. I collect them, but whatever. Josh, gonna move on to you.
We talk. What was the? I've forgotten the question because I'm stupid.
Oh, don't worry. So did I. We were talking about Lashley and Cedric Alexander.
Yes. Yeah, good match. That like you both said, too soon to happen. Probably just this kind of rush stuff, but nonetheless, bell to bell, no complaints from me.
Excellent. Unless you guys have any more thoughts on the main event scene, I to be quite honest with you, I've given my thoughts. I don't know if it happened for you guys as well, but it seemed like Raw cut off early tonight. Like it cut off, at least here on Sportsnet up here in Canada. We got cut off like during Bobby Lashley's entrance. Oh, so really? if there was any other stuff that you can give me some insight on, that'd be rad. But like we were literally cut off during Bobby Lashley's entrance during the go home WrestleMania.
Yeah, for me, they just had a face off in the ring after. So that was basically it. So he came out, they faced off, and it was at Mania, with just the face off. So it wasn't much that was missed for anybody that got a cut off where you got a cut off, Spencer. But that was basically it. The standard fare of just them staring at each other.
Nito Burrito. That gives me a good chance to move on to the Women's Tag Team Championships. A couple things coming out. One that I only really feel I need to touch on quickly because it was a fairly brief segment. There will be this Saturday as part of WrestleMania, a Women's Tag Team Turmoil match. I believe the competitors are Natalya and Tamina. We've got the Riot Squad in there. We've got Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. And who else? Now I feel like an idiot. I'm forgetting. There's a fourth team involved in it.
Naomi and Lana.
Yeah,
there we go. Naomi and Lana. Yeah. Thank you very much. I was trying to type notes and do a lot of different things at once. So thanks for filling me in here, gentlemen. I'm excited for the match. For me, though, I'm very excited that more women are getting chances to be on WrestleMania. 100% excited about that. I'm frustrated, though, that they've sort of made SmackDown this WrestleMania edition of SmackDown and taken out, like, the Andre the Giant. You missed it last year for good reason and that you had no idea what was going on with the virus and the pandemic and what have you. But, like, if you're doing it anyways, it's been a WrestleMania tradition, and now you're moving it off. And the Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, at least in my opinion, inevitable tag team title win is going to happen on a Friday night SmackDown rather than WrestleMania, which it's nothing against SmackDown. It's an excellent product in my opinion right now, but it's still, you don't ever hear about SmackDown moments, right? It's a WrestleMania.
It doesn't have fans. This is the one show where you should be loading up as many people on the card, because this might be the only opportunity for quite a while where we have 25,000 people in a stadium.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Is you do sort of rob all of those competitors, whether it's the Mysterios or any other team, and especially in the Andre, like you've robbed them of that bit of the opportunity. However, again, if you're going to take an opportunity away from enough people to fill a battle royal, I'm glad you didn't fill it with the singles match. I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to get a lot of women on the card, a lot of talented women on the card. Moving on from there, I guess that's all I can really say. I hope that we get, because I do think I saw a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp that Billie Kay and Carmella were listed as part of it. So
yes, Billie Kay with her headshot, and on the back we have our resume. You can't really see it because my camera is doing it, but I do have Billie Kay's resume here. I will be talking to Carmella later this week as I won a contest, and I will be talking to her about Billie Kay and taking the opportunity to win the tag team championships with one Billie Kay, so she better be on there.
I completely agree. You know, same sort of thing as if you talk about people who are deserving of WrestleMania moments, I don't think you'll find many people who would argue that Billie Kay has certainly been one of, if not the most entertaining parts of SmackDown over the last 6 months, just to throw a timeline on it. Josh, any thoughts on Billie Kay?
No, I can't really say I'm a big fan. I mean, Spencer, you know, in all seriousness, I don't know if you know this, but me and Billy are from the same homeland of one Australia. I don't talk about Australia that much. To be fair, it's not just because she's from Australia. It does help that she speaks like I speak, but I will say that Billie Kay is someone, to me, there's a lot of women on the roster. A lot of very talented women on the roster. The problem with a lot of talented women is very easy to get lost, because guess what? When there's one good wrestler, there's a lot of good wrestlers, and you just become another great in-ring talent. Billie Kay, while I don't think she is the greatest wrestler we've ever seen in the world, she gets it done, but it's her character that kind of makes her stand alone. And I will say, not just being biased, there is nobody like Billie Kay on the entire roster, man or woman. So that makes you stand out. So that's all I'll say on Billie.
I completely agree. Now, Joe, we'll move to you first when we talk about the actual tag team championship match itself. Spoiler alert, folks. They could not coexist. But before we do that, we've got to give a shout out to the official marketing director of Love Wrestling, Mrs. Maniac. Love Wrestling slippers. I think that's a great idea. This 9 p.m. start time is too late for old man Maniac, who quite literally a minute later suggested we get Nito Burrito Love Wrestling shirts. I'll take it 110% of the time. We'll get them done. We'll get them done eventually. The people at Sea of Dead are wonderful. I'm sure we could get them in on some shirts celebrating both things that are neat and burritos being one of those things that are, of course, very neat. And Billie Kay is life. Yeah, how can you disagree with that? Especially after Josh sings her praises so passionately. Joe, talk to me about your thoughts on the Rhea Ripley Asuka Women's Tag Team Championship hubbubaloo. Kerfuffle. Hubbubaloo was too hard to say, so I'm going to pivot to kerfuffle.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the match was fine. Again, I just think this is WWE. This is just something that they always do, and I don't know why they always have to do it. I don't know why people that are feuding with each other have to team up again with each other to fight the champions or the tag champions. It just doesn't need to be the same story told every time people are disagreeing with each other. But as far as the match goes, I thought it was fine. I don't know if that was a full-on heel turn by Ripley at the end when she pushed over. I know they were kind of doing some hard tags throughout the match and kind of teasing it a little bit, but I don't know if that was a full-fledged, like, I'm the bad person you should be booing for during this match now, or just I'm fighting this person, so I want my advantage come, WrestleMania.
Either way with it, I'm pretty happy, though, that, like, it didn't just... I don't want to see in many instances two friends go at it. You know what I mean? I don't want, and I'm not a UFC fan, but like I don't want to see Conor McGregor and Khabib in a tag team theoretical match facing off against two other dudes, right? Like it's so odd to me that you would even think that theoretically people would want to see that. I love me, just to throw it out there, some tag team wrestling, unlike Maniac and unlike the WWE, as Maniac alludes to right there. I completely agree. They do seem to hate traditional tag team wrestling. They seem to love these haphazardly thrown together tag teams. And it is especially odd for me that they did this so soon after they did it with Sasha and Bianca Belair. Like I said, though, I'm happy that they did have Rhea Ripley, like, you know, sort of throw her in, hit her with the 1-2, the old kick and caboodle. But it is frustrating to me that they would lead to this anyways, right?
Yeah.
Zach hopping in the chat. Can Josh Spencer and Joe coexist? Yeah.
I think we're doing okay. We're trying.
We're doing a great job of it.
Disgusting.
Maybe. Gosh damn it, Josh.
Oh hell yeah! As the Adelaidean like Rhea Ripley, maybe I'll just push you two off here, and I'll just be like, my show now.
Josh, what are your thoughts on it? You're someone who have had some opinions on women's wrestling before.
Yeah, I'm known to. It's in a word, it's just bland. It's just like it's lazy. That's a word for it. That's a better word for it. It's just very lazy. It's like so many other things. You're a week out from WrestleMania on a match that already is kind of like plan B, C, or D at this stage from what we were maybe going to get with Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. So you're already on a kind of, it's crunch time. You need to do something you need to go from 0 to 100 in what? A 3-week build, essentially. A 2-week build, essentially, other than Rhea coming out and being like, I want your championship, Asuka. There hasn't really been anything besides the contract signing. And then I don't understand why this is something easier. Why can't Rhea Ripley just have a match with, you know, Tom, Dick, or Harry and just be done? Get a little thing. They have a stare down and you're like, okay, listen, we know this match is going to be physical. We know this match is going to be very good. It's Rhea Ripley and it's Asuka. There's really no way that this match can really flop too hard because of the talent in the ring. The story can just kind of sort itself out. I don't need anything. I'm a very simple person when it comes to story. Anything too, you know, overcomplicated or colluvid or anything like that. And it just gets like, but then you go down the coexist route and it's just like, oh, they're both cheered. So therefore they have to be friends, but they can't be friends because they're going for a championship. Just have them talk some crap to one another for 5 minutes in the ring. And I'm like, all right, on to WrestleMania. Show a video package to be like, this is Rhea Ripley. This is Asuka. Let's go head to head. Who's the best? Who's going to be the champion? I really don't know why you can't do that. The match itself, though, was fine. It did its job, I guess, in the end. It did its job of getting tension and friction between champion and challenger, but it's just so done before, lazy stuff.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there were easier ways to get to where we got to without having your champion get pinned on the Raw right before WrestleMania and Asuka. And then like Josh said, you can show, they could have done a video package and it would have done the same exact thing that we're at now without this happening. You know, you could have just said, hey, these two are awesome. They're great. And they're battling, and then have them talk crap to each other in one promo segment. And then that's it. Instead of Asuka, your champion, losing on television 5 days before she's defending the title. And I don't know. It's just some of the stuff they do, like the coexist, and the champions always get pinned. There's just certain things that are things they do all the time where it's like, there's a better way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
It's it also puts, when you actually, let's think of the grand scheme of things, it also puts Shayna and Nia in kind of a little bit of an awkward spot as well, because you're booking yourselves into a corner because you also don't want your tag team champions losing, 6 days before WrestleMania. If it was the roles reversed and Asuka or Rhea was to get a big win before WrestleMania, you don't want your tag team champions going into another story, which this story doesn't concern them, going into another story with an L or it's so. You have to have your tag champions win So you have to do the they can't coexist thing, but it's just it puts everyone in a very awkward position, in my opinion. And it doesn't really, to me, a Shayna Baszler victory here over a attacked Asuka doesn't really be like, whoa, Shayna Baszler, she pinned the Raw Women's Champion. It just kind of does like the, okay, she got beaten for Korea.
I agree with that. I was happy, though, that especially after the last few weeks, it seemed like any time that Nia and Shayna lost, it was Shayna taking the pin. So I will say, and I'm happy that she was the one who picked up the win. And I'm also happy that she picked up the win with that absolutely devastating knee strike. It's unreal. It's unreal. I've loved it for ages, to be honest with you. There's nothing, at least for me, I'm lucky enough that I don't know this from experience. But theoretically, to me, there's nothing more painful than getting just kneed in the jaw, I'd have to assume. So it's always just looked devastating for me, or felt like it would be devastating for me whenever you see it. She executes it absolutely perfectly. I love that she not only won, but won it with that tonight. I think that's it on the tag team titles for me. I wanted to move on to another tag team scene, and one that I know good friend Chris Parrish is going to move his thoughts into the comments here. He says, it sounds like tag team wrestling is a struggle in WWE. Well, let's talk about a match I know you'll love, Parrish. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. Again, my notes, I love their stuff tonight. I really did. And again, I had the conversation with a couple of gentlemen earlier today. If you go into something like this expecting it to be like your 5-star Owen versus Brett at Mania 10 classic, let's just get real here. It's somebody debuting, and there aren't a lot of instances where you do get those matches. You know, I think one of the reasons for me, and this isn't a shot at the match, it still holds up. It's still a great match for me. One of the reasons, though, that I was so blown away by like the Pat McAfee Adam Cole match was because I went in thinking, okay, it's a celebrity match. This probably won't be a classic, so on and so forth. And then it was. And I'm so excited about potentially having my, at worst expectations met, in that this will be a match that is designed for Bad Bunny and Damian Priest to have a big moment at WrestleMania. And at best, for all we know, this could be a solid match, right? I'm not going into it expecting it to be a classic among classics, but I'm hoping for fun. And I think that tonight, whether it was with the stuff with the Bugatti, Bad Bunny's promo was pretty solid. I quite liked Bad Bunny's promo, to be honest with you. It's a little rough to start, but he had some fire behind it.
Oh, yeah.
So I quite liked it. Joe, sorry, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was going to say I agree. I think, it was a little long-winded to start, but I think once he got in the groove during the promo, I believed him. I think he's been great since he's been here. You can tell that he cares. You can tell he's been a fan his whole life. He's, like he said at the beginning of the promo, like he's literally living his dream by getting involved in a WrestleMania match. And you can tell that he's taking it seriously too. This is not a joke to him, which is, I think it's refreshing, because growing up as fans, as we all did, when you think about like what you would do during that opportunity, like he said, like if you, as a fan, if you were on that top rope, you would have jumped off too. Like, like that, I believe him, and I can tell he's taking it seriously, and he's really cherishing that he's given the opportunity to do this,
I agree, man. I do also want to give, like, Parrish does have credence to it. Like, his arguments are valid when he says it takes a spot away theoretically from someone who should be there. I would love there to be an Aleister Black match on the card, or, Andrade is another name that just keeps coming to mind, obviously. Just got to get that cognitive dissonance gone with him still being there. But, like, there are a lot of people I would hope would be on this card. I'm not going to be upset with a celebrity or some attempts to get more eyes on professional wrestling. Whether it works or not, okay. If this ends up being a total and colossal failure, then my opinion will have to shift again. But over the last little bit, I have been at least interested with a lot of appearances by celebrities in pro wrestling, whether it's for great stuff like Pat McAfee or even that Shaquille O'Neal match, or ridiculous stuff like watching Snoop Dogg hit a 5-star splash. Now, before, Josh, we get to your thoughts on the match, I want to tackle off a fan question that's getting enough answers in the comments to make it relevant to us now. Chat and panel, what night looks stronger to you of WrestleMania, night 1 or night 2? Josh, I will let you tackle that one first.
You know what? WWE have done hats off to them. They've done a really good job at splitting the nights really equally. And there's like you can tell which nights, WrestleMania is kind of built on this. There's matches that are attraction matches, like your Bad Bunny. There's matches that are designed to steal the show, like your Cesaro, Seth, or your Owens and Zayn. And then there's your main event title matches and stuff like that. That's how I kind of break down Mania. And they've done a really good job at evening out each night. So to me, one doesn't necessarily look stronger than the other overall, but purely because I'm just so invested in the triple threat main event for the Universal title, I'll go night 2, but that's not to take away anything that's on night 1. I just think it's just very even. That's just like a toss up though. I mean, it could change 400 times between now and Mania.
Yeah. Joe.
I would agree. I think they are pretty even. I would lean towards night 2 because of the triple threat as well. And I believe Owens and Zayn is night 2, and that's a match I'm looking forward to. And then Rhea Ripley, regardless of the complaints of how they got there tonight, like some complaints and some good things, I am looking forward to Asuka and Rhea Ripley. That's a match I really want to watch and see. And those 3 are all on night 2. So that's where I'm leaning a little bit, but I do think Josh is correct. I do think they did a pretty good job of making them as even as they could.
Yeah,
sure.
110%. We've got a lot of people agreeing with you here. Maniac, night 2. Of course, that triple threat's just going to be a barn burner. It's going to be an absolute freaking barn burner. I couldn't be more excited for it. Kevin and Sammy, always and forever. Hello, Zach. It's always good to see you as well in the chat. I know you were here earlier, but you're still here. It's a great thing. Parrish, I get enough love. Wrestling. I have to pop for that. I have to bring it up. And then, of course, Andre C. hopping on Twitch. Hey, good to see you, my friend. And, of course, I've mentioned it off the top of the show. But if you guys are watching on Twitch, thank you very much. If you guys are watching and not following, I would really, really love if you would be able to give us a follow. We're hoping to hit affiliate status at some point in WrestleMania week. We are at 47 followers, at least as of the start of this broadcast. If we hit that magic number of 50, it helps us get there. It helps us support a little bit extra for great people like Josh, like Joe, and the rest of the Love Wrestling contributors, some of which you see in the chat here tonight, again, like Zach. Great individual. Now, I've got to agree, though. Night 2 is absolutely fantastic looking. Night 1, though, and for a lot of the same reasons, for me, I'm specifically really invested in Sasha and Bianca. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Again, despite the fact that maybe it could have used 2 or 3 more weeks just based on how good the last 3 weeks have been in their build, I would have absolutely loved that. I'm psyched for them. I'm absolutely psyched for Drew and Bobby. I got to go with night 1. Got to go with night 1 on it.
I mean, Cesaro and Rollins is on night 1 too, and I think that's one a lot of people, including me, are very, very stoked for.
Admittedly, I didn't bring it up because I wasn't certain which night it was on.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's night 1, so that's a standout for me as well. So
very excited for it all. I can't wait. And if you guys are tuned in to Love Wrestling, you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest in what we love in pro wrestling, we're going to be doing stuff like this every night with the rotating cast of contributors. Don't forget to give us a like, a share, a follow, a subscribe, a Yelp review, anything of the sort. There we go. Can finally take a quick breath. There's lots of things to plug. We're doing great things over here in Love Wrestling. Next thing I wanted to chat about, if you guys are up for it, Ali versus Riddle. I was hoping that this would have been a WrestleMania match. I really was. I would have absolutely loved Mustafa Ali to be chasing the U.S. Championship right about now. With a little more oomph behind it. Like, it's a bad way to put it, but like, he's been doing great work. Despite that, I didn't think there was any chance he was winning tonight, and that's a little frustrating to me. He's a guy I'd absolutely love to see carrying a title sooner rather than later. Josh,
I would agree.
You had a frustrated face there. Yeah, I absolutely. I could see the wheels turning.
Yeah, I think you could read my face. I won't mention Riddle because I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about Mustafa Ali. I think in the last, so when did Retribution originally come in? Say last July, let's say.
Right after, wasn't it right after SummerSlam? Maybe
I believe it was right after. Yeah.
July,
somewhere
August,
around there.
Whenever the heck it was a thing that happened, and I know that the introduction of Retribution had a lot of people like, what is this? It's juvenile. It's it's dumb, it's whatever. There was kind of just very indifferent opinions on the introduction of it. And then when Ali kind of got revealed as the leader or the brains behind whatever you want to call him, Retribution, people were like, okay, let's see how this thing's at least plays out. I think a lot of people wanted more from Mustafa Ali. And there's a very, while I won't comment too much on the, the outside stuff, but there is a very sense of realism towards what he is saying. At least we can think and go, okay, the world, the way it is, we can understand why he is like he is. And if you watch Raw Talk, which I suggest that everybody in the comments pays more attention to, is Raw Talk and Talking Smack. It's because it gives an opportunity for people to actually speak from the heart and say what's on their mind. Sink or swim. If their promo's bad, then get the hell out of here. But if your promo's good and it makes some sense. Okay, so he was saying a lot of things that were very like, is he alluding to this? Is he alluding to this? And it gets your mind turning. Ali is someone I would say that the Retribution stuff was just poorly executed. I don't think it really had two legs to stand on from kind of the moment it got started. I think from the moment it got started, out of the race, it was just kind of, it was already losing. It was already losing this race. However, Ali is someone that is so good at what he does. He's a great babyface. He's a great heel. But my favorite heels are the ones you can kind of believe. Yeah. Like I go, I don't like it, but I see it. I get it's true. It's true. And it makes you think. I like wrestling when it makes you think and it goes, he has a point. I hate him or I love him, but I have a point. He has a point and it's very real because it rubs you the wrong way. Coming through all this stuff at the end of Retribution, and we had teasers of maybe Mustafa Ali and Kofi Kingston, and that never really kind of panned out. And then Riddle and everything that went on there. And now Mustafa Ali is just another man in the Battle Royal, which really just, I know I'm getting back to the question. Don't worry. I'm getting there in the long run. But he is someone that is just such a missed opportunity. And why there's still, obviously, it's wrestling. You can always pick yourself back up and you're good to go the next week. But it just gets to the point where it's like, how many times do I have to see this man eat a fall? How many times do I have to see a failed thing happen to him again? How many times do I have to see, no matter how good he can get, he's great on social media, which is a very big part of wrestling now, if we hate to admit it or not. It's very good on social media. He's very good at these Raw Talk things. And every opportunity he gets, he seems to be at least trying to make the most of it. And to not have at least some kind of, even a small story going into WrestleMania, I just think this does him a disservice, and it shows you the level. While I love WWE, and there's a lot of people that do break that ceiling, breaking that ceiling is so like, there's just such a gap between floor and ceiling in WWE that if you aren't a big name or you aren't someone that just has the look of a high level performer, you're kind of limited in what you can do. And I think Ali is a perfect example of WWE having a lot of talent and just not using them correctly. And I'm not trying to just piss on WWE because I do love WWE.
No, I agree as far as it goes. Zach as well making a good point. Can't believe they seemingly dropped Kofi versus Ali. Yeah, I don't get it either because there wasn't really, if I remember correctly, any sort of like definitive payoff for it. They wrestled, Kofi won. It wasn't like a statement victory, for lack of a better way to put it, to the level that it should have been for the story that they were, trying to tell. I want to talk on something really, really quickly here because I really don't have much to say, but it will bring up my larger point from the comment section here. Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon certainly exists, and that is what I have to say.
Yeah,
I'm someone who has paid money for 2 Shane McMahon jerseys.
I love Shane McMahon. By the way, I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, and I do too.
This is the official Shane McMahon fan club.
Yeah.
Choo choo. Oh, I shouldn't get choo choo because that's Braun, but whatever.
I could 100. I don't care about this match at all, sadly. And this is not a knock on either performer or either guy. Like, it's just the build has been awful. I don't care. Braun Strowman's a guy that potentially could have been world champion, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and now he's in to me at least, a meaningless match, and he's just kind of doing meaningless stuff, sadly. It's just, Not good.
You know what? The match is most certainly going to happen. I'm fine with, like, the best way to put it for me is I do love Shane McMahon. For me, he's at its best, and I don't mean this as a shot, when he's sort of your proverbial crash test dummy. Let Braun Strowman make absolute mincemeat of him for 5 minutes. That's all I need. But do I need, like, the big long vignette treatment that, again, we've talked about earlier, perhaps could have been used for other matches that maybe got a different treatment tonight? It could have been better placed for me. I thought it was odd that they gave, like, again, the full 5-minute package for what amounts to shaming someone for being thought to be dumb. Yeah. That's just odd for me. Like, all of it's been a bit of a misstep. I really didn't like that report card segment. Like, to be quite honest, when I first saw it, like, I did think back, like, Lashley's sister's levels of poor, but that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on McMahon versus Strowman? Joe, Josh?
No, I'm good. I think. Yeah, I think I think we share the same sentiments, all of us. So.
It's like how, why, what, when, why.
You know?
Did I say why already? Just why? What I just don't understand is that all of a sudden it just seems to be out of the blue. Braun's this big dumb idiot now.
And that's exactly it. Where did that come from?
And I'm not a Braun guy. I've never have been. I'm not like I've just never been that fan of, like, the big dudes, but, like, I don't think he's bad by any sense. And I like Shane. It just, to me, this is a waste. How many more matches has Shane McMahon got in him? Shouldn't you be using him with someone that can, has a little bit more vested interest and makes a little bit more sense of why you'd be fighting a McMahon? It's less and less that we see a kind of McMahon role on television. And I don't know, why would Shane McMahon deem any threat to someone that is 7 foot tall or however tall he is? What is he, 40 feet tall at this point? I don't know what Braun is. He's a train. So he's a literal train. You can't. He's a literal train. So, like, choo-choo the way out of this Mania match, maybe. Like, it's just, I don't know. There's no threat to me that's just, Shane McMahon doesn't pose a threat to Braun. Why would Braun waste his time? And there's no explanation. Here's another thing that I don't like with this Shane stuff is, like, didn't he get fired like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when there was no explanation? He's just back. Oh, he ran Raw Underground for a little while and now he's back again. Now he has authority again. I just don't understand how. I know he's a McMahon and it's whatever. You can kind of blur the lines.
Work your way up that corporate ladder, brother.
But it's just as simple as him coming out on a microphone and saying, my dad hired me again. And that's it. But he didn't.
Sort of thing. Because you know what? Because they did that same thing with Sonya Deville. Like, she cut that promo. She came back as a management figure. What was it? An associate to Adam Pearce was the initial title or something? Yeah, whatever. Something along those lines. But yeah,
just
again.
Say that. Just
exactly.
Say,
you've shown that you're happy to do those explanations and give that explanation. Why you wouldn't give it consistently, I'm not 100% sure. Now, I'm going to get back to the question we've got here, because the only other segment that I think we've got to talk about was the AJ Styles and Xavier Woods match. The only thing that I've got to say about it was, for the short time that it was on my television, I quite enjoyed it. But, like, the fact you're giving those guys less than 10 minutes was certainly frustrating for me. Frustrating for me.
And I know we were chatting a little bit about it when it happened, but that really pissed me. I was looking forward to those guys having a great match, which it would have been. And I saw it. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a good match. And it was just another one of these distraction 3-minute things. And I was just like, this is a 3-hour show, and it's the show before your biggest event. You don't have 10 minutes for those guys. You cannot find 10 minutes on your 3-hour program for those guys to just have a great match. Oh, that bothered me so much. I was just like, all right, let's watch the 5th recap video of what happened at the beginning of the show that could have been added to this match with 2 guys that we like. Like him, we want to watch wrestle. Like, that was so frustrating.
Josh, any final thoughts as far as that goes? And then, to be quite honest with you, if there's anything I'm forgetting, because I only took haphazard notes, I figure it makes for better discussion if I'm not specific in points. It served me well. It served me poorly at times too. But Josh, any thoughts on AJ Styles versus Xavier Woods?
Didn't see it because I was late home from work.
There we go. Perfect. Well, that I think just speaks to the fact that it did not go long enough. Now, a couple of quick comments in here before we get to what I think will be our final quick discussion topic for the last 10 minutes of the first edition of Love Wrestling Recaps. Good news is, hopefully, in T-5 days, it'll be history. Yeah, Kellen and I don't disagree. I don't see McMahon versus Strowman having any more legs. I really hope it doesn't. Hopefully, this ends with Shane McMahon going off a top of a cage through a table to the outside. Yeah. Whether Braun throws him, whether he jumps, he'd have to be thrown. But we saw it happen a couple of years ago where Kevin Owens won a match getting thrown through a table off a Hell in a Cell. So let's see it happen one more time. Why not? I'll take it. An unpopular opinion, but I think that there are certainly certain moments for this, but all McMahon needs to say out of the ring off camera. It does not help things along. I do agree for the most part, but I still think when you've got, like, the perfect example for me is when Kevin Owens headbutt Vince McMahon. Yeah. Those are the sort of appearances. And of course, I don't want Vince McMahon coming out and busting his head open every time he's on Raw, but like, I think that moments like that where it's truly going to be something special make a lot more sense rather than when you do seem to see them thrown out every few minutes, I suppose. And then what I wanted to tackle off is Joe Morin, of course, from, again, the Turnbuckle Rewind podcast. As cool as some of these matches are, this is the least excited I've been for WrestleMania than I've been since I've started watching wrestling. I'm actually more excited for TakeOver than Mania. Thoughts? You're pretty quick to answer, Joe.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think, I think WrestleMania is going to be good. I think the matches are going to be good. But the build has been not the greatest. I mean, I can't really pick one match where I've been like, wow, this has been. I want to see the matches. The triple threat, I think, is probably the one it's been convoluted at times, but like that's the match I'm excited for. But even the build there has been kind of, you know what I mean? So I think 100% I'm more excited for TakeOver than Mania. I think the build for the TakeOver matches are arguably the best builds of the Mania week. Some of them, Cole and O'Reilly and Raquel and Io, and some of those matches that they've been building have been really well told stories, whereas WWE has seemed just super rushed and just super, So I would agree with Joe on that. I think NXT has been a much better build to where we're going this week for sure.
I think you put it very, very well, my friend. There's not much there I would disagree with you on. I'm always just naturally biased towards being very, very excited for WrestleMania, simply with the memories that comes with it, right? And I've got no doubt that the card's absolutely going to tear it down. I think despite the fact that it's a full house for as many people as you're allowed to have there, it is by no means like a packed stadium like you used to see for WrestleManias in the past, but I still think you're going to get a hot crowd. It's going to add so much to the overall program. Something I'm super, super excited for. Josh, I'll let you get the final word on today's discussion on WrestleMania, whether you think you're more excited for TakeOver or not, and then let people know where they can keep track of you on social media.
Yeah, so purely I'm more excited for WrestleMania just for what you said. There's a crowd, and I've just missed it so much. It does add a lot to wrestling. It can make a bad match great and a great match bad. It can do that. And that's the exciting part. I want fans to chant random crap that I've hated for many years, but I'm like, please chant it. I just want to hear it because it's just dumb. And I'm just ready for pops. I'm ready for stuff like that. But the build for TakeOver has been pretty damn close to perfect, I would say, with 99.9% of everything that's going on at both nights of TakeOver. So from a wrestling standpoint, I'm more excited for TakeOver than I am for WrestleMania. But I don't know. WrestleMania to me is not really about matches. It's about the spectacle. So like, I know that sounds dumb because it's a wrestling show, but I've always been more attracted to the entertainment side of wrestling than the actual wrestling itself, which I guess kind of makes me a little bit stupid. But I just like I live for like all the other stuff with wrestling. I love wrestling as well, don't get me wrong. But I just get more excited for like the pyro and the production and all the hype videos and the music and the performances like that. That gets me going in wrestling. So, but wrestling wise, it's no question that I'm more excited for TakeOver both nights, because I mean, they're both. We use this word a lot in wrestling. They're both stacked, if you would say, and a lot of time for 5 matches on each card. That's like an ideal number for NXT. So yeah, I'm excited for it all though. It's WrestleMania week. Molly Holly goes into the Hall of Fame tomorrow. I'm on cloud 9.
Yep, you and I both, my friend. I know there's a ton of individuals going into the Hall of Fame tomorrow that all of us are excited for. Molly Holly, on your end, I know I can speak as far as my excitement to Davey Boy Smith heading into the Hall of Fame. Joe, anybody you're specifically excited for?
I'm happy for RVD. At least for the 2021 class. Obviously, Molly Holly, I'm super excited for. I think RVD was a standout to me. I want to hear Bischoff's speech.
Yeah.
And then, I'm happy. It took a long time, but I'm happy British Bulldog is going in. I know he was supposed to be last year technically, but I'm happy for him. But I would say RVD and Bischoff are the two, especially Bischoff's speech. That's the speech I'm looking forward to the most is Bischoff's.
I agree. If there's anybody who's going to go over the 5 minutes that they were rumored to be allotted, I suppose, he'd probably be the guy to do it. At least that I've heard, that's 3 to 5 minutes, but it is all, as far as I'm aware, I shouldn't say conjecture because it's people like the Bellas and that sort of stuff tweeting it out. But I obviously, as someone with no inside information on professional wrestling, can only go off of tweets I read and the people I trust that write about them. Josh, where can people keep track of you online? And give a plug again for Wrestling Reverb. I enjoyed the episode, so people should be watching more of it. If they've watched it before, they should watch it again.
Yeah, so I'll talk about Reverb first. Reverb here if you're on the YouTube channel of Love Wrestling, just go through it. It's right at the top. It was uploaded yesterday, so you can today, I guess, for you guys. It was yesterday for me. Just calm down. I'm in the future. But yeah, Wrestling Reverb. Me and my co-host Kevin, we just talk about what we love about wrestling. Not a lot of bitching, not a lot of complaining, as I've been doing on this show, apparently. It's just more so just talking about WrestleMania and that. So go and check that out. Give us a subscribe and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to find me on socials, it's, as much as I hate to say it, at Josh Robinson _00. But everywhere else, it's Josh Robinson 00. I'm as Spencer and anyone that follows me can kind of attest to, I'm tweeting a lot of dumb BS, but it's fun. So come and follow me. I talk about pretty much anything. So come follow me.
Isn't that quite literally what
True.
Twitter is like assess? Like my number one thought anytime I tweet something is like, I don't know if you guys were fans of How I Met Your Mother, but Barney Stinson, he's like, I made me laugh. Like that's my single thought.
It's literally,
I send something out.
It's literally everything I do.
And then I'll get my 2 likes on it and think, boy, that was viral. I almost have like the second comment underneath. It's like, wow, this got a lot of traction. Don't forget to check out. Don't forget to check out my SoundCloud. I have 4 likes today.
I'm like, I should put one of those those lamps that everyone sells with the lights in them and stuff. I should start posting that under my 2 like tweet because I'm so over on Twitter. It's actually kind of like you should be paying me for my appearance today, but we'll let it slide. Also,
aren't we getting those paid tweets sooner rather than later? Is that a thing yet? Or
I've been waiting for my payment for a few months, but it's not really coming through. But there must be an issue with PayPal. It's okay. I just want to quickly plug my Twitch because it's where I think do my most fun stuff. Twitch.tv /Josh Robinson 00. I'm live like 4 or 5 times a week. I do play wrestling games a lot, but I do play a lot of other stuff. I'm playing through Red Dead Redemption and I do other stuff. So if you just like wrestling games and a very idiotic version of Josh, I'm very stupid on Twitch. But I think I'm pretty fun. I don't want to, it sounds weird saying that because it just sounds cocky, but I have a pretty good time on Twitch and you get to see my cat all the time. So if you don't like me and you like Giddy, then, I'll happily exploit her for a few extra follows on Twitch.
Giddy is a Josh Robinson Twitch exclusive. Joe, of course, we talked a little bit about NXT. You're going to be doing so over the not next couple of nights, but in the upcoming days here on Love Wrestling, both in the live format and on the War Report. So give a little bit of a rundown and then, of course, where people can keep track of you on social media.
Yeah, we'll be doing live post-show reacts for both nights of TakeOver. Our friend Josh here will be joining me for night 2. And then I might be popping up on one of the Mania after shows as well. And then me and Matt will be doing a abbreviated version of the War Report this week as well. Just going over AEW since we'll be doing the live shows of NXT on Love Wrestling, Twitch, and YouTube. My Twitter handle is right there. It is Joseph_Poulin Jr. Follow me there. Follow me at Love Wrestling. And yeah, a lot of stuff coming up this week. Super excited. It should be, regardless for all our mini complaints and bickering here, I think we have a good week and weekend ahead of us. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I completely agree. And of course, friends, if you want to keep track of what Joe, Josh, and as Joe Morin said in the chat, the show doesn't have enough Joes. I completely agree. So if you want to keep track of more Joes, an overabundance of Joes, but definitely not too many Joes, keep track of everything we're doing here on Love Wrestling. You can find us pretty well anywhere that podcasts are played or videos are viewed at Love Wrestling CA. The only place that changes is the website itself. That is lovewrestling.ca. We do have a couple of specific goals we're looking to hit over Mania week. Like I mentioned, we are looking, there we go, to become affiliates on Twitch over the next little bit. Whenever that happens during Mania week, it's something that's personally a goal for all of us here on the site. So if you're watching on Twitch and not following, no worries, friends. Hopefully we convinced you to give us that follow. If you want to give us a subscription, that is appreciated as well. We would love if you did it, but I would really, really appreciate that one little click that helps us get to affiliate status and, of course, continue to support great people like Josh, Joe, and all of the other Joes we're going to be bringing on in the near future. We're looking to hit 200 followers on Instagram, and we're one away. If someone can be that follower, we would really, really appreciate it so that tomorrow we can adjust our goal and plug the same Instagram and Twitter that we've got right there. We're also, of course, on YouTube very, very consistently. Pretty well in time that we're on Twitch, though. That's going to change in the future with some upcoming Twitch exclusives. We are streaming on YouTube anytime we're on Twitch as of this point. So if you're on YouTube, give us that subscription. If you're not on YouTube, head over after the show is done and give us a subscription. Link is right there. We're aiming to be the number one podcast, the number one wrestling podcast, I should specify, in Canada as well in the near future. Whenever that date may happen, we are excited if it does come, but the only way we're going to get there is with your support. So head to ratethispodcast.com/Love Wrestling CA. It only takes a couple of seconds to hit the 5 stars again. Hopefully we've convinced you to do that, and hopefully we've convinced you to tune in again sooner rather than later. And if you want to support above and beyond, we're taking pre-orders on the first ever merchandise that we have had sponsored on our end. A big, big thanks to Sea of Dead. Of course, support local any opportunity you get, whether wrestling or merchandise providers. They did a great job, so head to lovewrestling.ca/shop. Only limited supplies are available, and we want to pass them on to you. Bada boom, all the plugs in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the first ever edition of Love Wrestling Reacts. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be chatting. Actually, we're not going to be back tomorrow. We're going to have NWA Power Out tomorrow. We got lots of Love Wrestling Reacts coming tomorrow, but let's go to the NWA specific show. That's going to be taking place at 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time or 8:30 Eastern Time right here on Love Wrestling. Zach's got some great stuff lined up for you guys on that. Prior to that, I'm actually going to be hosting the first ever premiere edition of The Mind Behind. Alicia Toot, the founder of Ambi, MLW broadcaster, and a hell of a human being, is going to be joining me for that, live answering your questions. Again, we got lots of content coming up, both pre-recorded and live, so we want to hear from you guys whenever we've got the opportunity. Come join us tomorrow in both of those live conversations. Join us in the pre-recorded stuff and just leave your thoughts. But thank you guys, however you choose to support, for taking the time to give it to Love Wrestling. For Joe, for Josh, I am Spencer Love. Thanks once again. We will talk to you soon.